I'm a 2017 grad and delighted to have the opportunity to be here to tell you a little bit about my story. I'm originally from Arlington, Virginia, and I now live in Durham, North Carolina. I have a master's in organization development and 30 years as a manager and leader, 20 of which was spent as an organization development consultant and adult educator. The highlight of my career was serving as the founding and executive director of the Women's Business Center of Northern Virginia, where over an 11-year period, we trained 22,000 minority and socially disadvantaged women how to start and grow their own businesses. I'm deeply committed to human empowerment and have done 44 years of personal growth work, including several years of leading intense personal growth and trauma resolution retreats for women who love women. So how did my journey to GISC begin? I had the privilege actually of retiring the day before I turned 58 in Berkeley, California, when my wife asked me to stop working to travel the world with her. So hard. However, 11 months later, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4, and I became a widow at the age of 60. After several months of grief work and retreats and therapy, I moved back to the East Coast to be closer to my family. And once I was settled, I started working with a life coach to figure out my next steps. Given my history and my gifts, it made sense to start the journey to becoming a coach myself. Now, I could have just hung out my shingle because I had my master's in organization development, but I really felt like I wanted to find a rigorous program. And so I researched programs that fit in with my value system, and I wanted one that had a really strong model that allowed me to bring all of who I am to this work. I sought a premier program that was intentional about including the whole self, one that allowed me the space to bring in the emotional, the intellectual, the physical, the spiritual, and that allowed me to work with clients so I could bring all of that in. I found the GISC program out on Cape Cod and was thrilled. It was close to my brother who lived in Provincetown. So what did I love about this program? I loved having a cohort of folks who all had advanced degrees and the mix of those who were working internally and externally in very different fields. I loved having the opportunity to experientially practice what we were learning every step of the way. While I was familiar with the cycle of experience from other Gestalt work I had done, I really wanted to learn more about the Gestalt core competencies, and that was important and that was accomplished. I loved having my regular small group conference calls and the time that I got to spend alone with my mentor on a monthly basis. I loved being ready for the ICF competency program and the rigor that we had so that I could get that accreditation soon after graduation. How did I start my practice? I began low-cost coaching with some acquaintances after I got back from my very first week at the program. I formed a sole proprietorship, which I named Heart's Harvest. My coaching niche is working with those who are undergoing very difficult life transitions, particularly people who are retiring, changing careers, ones that have lost a loved one, people who are coming out, divorcing, starting a business, or just taking a really big risk. These are, of course, all transitions that I've gone through myself, but my work is not about being an expert in those areas. It's about holding up a mirror to what someone is going through and walking with them along this journey. On my website, you can see that I provide clear and compassionate guidance and support to those who are undergoing major transitions in their lives. Working together, we take what's overwhelming, break it into manageable steps, and create a path that leaves them feeling optimistic, grounded, and eager to move ahead. So when I graduated 3 years ago this month, I created my own website and I started working part-time, but with a lot of intentionality. 3 months later, I had achieved my ACC status with the ICF, and 14 months after that, I had coached over 500 hours and achieved my PCC, or Professional Coach certification. I've now worked with over 30 paid clients and have conducted 600 hours of coaching in the last 3 years. You can learn much more about my story and my work at heartsharvest.com, and I'm delighted to take your questions after we hear from the third panelist. Thanks.